Are you prepared? We're the Office of Emergency Services, and we're committed to providing the most up-to-date and accurate information so that you and your family can stay safe during an emergency. Part of being prepared is knowing your hazards and taking proper precautions. Visit mendoready.org. On the Know Your Hazards page, you can find hazards for where you work, where you live, and where your kids go to school. On the Plan and Prepare page, you'll find a plan template. It's important to know what you're going to do, what you're going to take with you, how you're going to communicate, where you're going to go, and how to get there.
One great way to prepare is to pack a go bag.
To those in the room and those on the Zoom, this is the Planning Commission meeting for August 15th. Commissioner Purnell is in some construction delays, so we will be starting at approximately 9:40. Log back in or stay tuned until then.
To evacuate. An emergency kit will have supplies for you to remain self-sufficient for 72 hours. Find a list of supplies for disaster kits on our website, mendoready.org.
A prepared community is a resilient community that will recover faster from disasters. So take some time today, visit our website, get yourself prepared so you can be Mendo ready.
Personally, I think everybody could benefit from the home visiting programs.
I think that as a parent now, I'm grateful for support more than I was before.
I filled out that form not knowing what I was doing. I am very, very grateful that I did it because it's really helping me a lot.
Bueno, creo que por mi parte esperaba algo totalmente diferente, como un programa más frío, por decir algo, no tan cercano a la familia. Y a través del programa nos hemos dado cuenta que también pasa a ser una familia con nosotros porque nos apoya en los momentos difíciles o cuando nos hemos visto en dificultades.
Well, I was a new mom and I had no experience taking care of a newborn.
There isn't like a book on how to raise a kid.
We come from like a lot of family history of, drugs, violence, alcoholism, so we didn't want our daughter to experience any of that.
The thought that a parent was supposed to be loving, nurturing, supposed to be there for their kid, provide food, shelter, joy, and going in, becoming a parent for her, I had no clue how to provide that.
Cómo pensar educarla, cómo educar a un hijo porque pues nosotros nunca, es la primera vez que íbamos a ser padres.
What I think parents should know about home visiting is that you can learn a lot of new things and tips and tricks, how to take care of the baby and what to do, and if you're, stuck in a routine and everything being monotonous, like they give you new resources and new tools how to handle parenthood.
It was nice to have them kind of guiding me, even though I was not a first-time mom. I felt like a first-time mom.
It totally blew my mind over time. So much information that I had no idea about. She was straightforward when, teaching me this stuff and answered any of my questions. Just a really positive experience.
What I think that parents could benefit with the program is just having someone here for you, especially for first-time parents. It can be very isolating and it can be very lonely, and having the home visitor changes that and it feels very good.
For me, having a home visitor is like having a second mom there.
A lot has changed. I'm definitely more knowledgeable taking care of her, and I know that anytime I need advice or help from somebody, I can just call her.
It's just that little positive nudge to, hey, I'm noticing something, let's find a way how to change it. And she's like, you know what, Amanda, let's pick you up, dust you off, and let's go over to, see about either getting your driver's license or seeing about, going to college, see if we can start something for you.
It's totally worth it. Like, even if you're on the fence at first, you don't feel like having a stranger coming in your house and teaching you about your little one, do it anyway. You get the help that you need. You get professional advice on things you may not know about your child. And the fact that the program has no fees or anything, it's all totally free, is fantastic.
Yo creo que si conozco a alguien que está próxima a ser mamá, lo primero que haría sería recomendarle el programa, porque te entrega mucho apoyo, mucha información y más que nada como apoyo emocional, una guía, te da una visión diferente de cómo es ser papá aquí, quizás en este país.
Y así pues es un bonito programa, porque pues es buena persona la señora y los ha atendido muy bien.
Pensé que nada más iba a ser un programa de orientación quizás para los nuevos padres, pero creo que nos llevamos una linda sorpresa porque Gaby es una persona muy cercana a nosotros, es como parte de nuestra familia, siempre ha estado dispuesta a ayudarnos y a escucharnos con nuestras dudas sobre la paternidad, y en nuestro caso, que estamos solos en este país, ha sido como de mucha ayuda.
Es un gran apoyo para nuevos padres, y más aún si están en nuestra situación, que somos extranjeros, que nuestra familia y amigos, como dice Carla, están en otro país, lejos. Entonces sí, viene muy bien el programa para apoyarse tanto emocional y como anímicamente, y bueno, en varios aspectos del programa que nos ayuda a seguir adelante con esta nueva aventura.
Te ayuda como a ver los distintos recursos que tiene la comunidad para nuevos papás, entonces creo que es de gran ayuda.
No queda mucho que agregar, pero lo veo de la misma forma.
Que hemos aprendido algunas cosas aquí y pues los han ayudado, como este programa los ha ayudado para seguir creciendo a la bebé, como con buenos consejos y así.
Sí, y creo que también ha sido muy importante el tema de apoyarnos con el libro y saber qué actividades hacer con Máximo de acuerdo a su edad, cómo estimularlo, cómo cuidarlo de los peligros de la casa, como cosas que uno como papá nuevo no conoce, claro.
Pues a mí me gustaría que lo siguiéramos visitando aquí en la biblioteca de Covelo.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Mendocino County Planning Commission of August 15th, 2004. Today's meeting is a hybrid meeting of the Planning Commission with participants both in person and digitally. The public may participate digitally in meetings by sending comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.gov or orally via telecomment in lieu of personal attendance. All public comment will be made available to the commissioners, staff, and the general public after processing by staff, and can be viewed as attachments to this meeting agenda on the Planning Commission agenda page. May we have a roll call?
Commissioner Purnell.
Here.
Commissioner Wiedemann.
Here.
Chair Pollan.
Here.
And Commissioner Babini and Jones are absent by prearrangement.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have determination of legal notice?
And legal notice has been determined on this matter.
All right, thank you very much. Next item is the director's report. Do we have any items from the director?
Good morning, Julia Krog, Planning and Building Services Director. No director's report today.
All right, thank you very much. All right, agenda item 4, this is matters from the public expression. Members of the public are welcome to address the Planning Commission on items not listed on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is prohibited by law from taking action on matters not on the agenda. Individuals wishing to address the Planning Commission under matters from the public may do so in person, via email, or Zoom. If any members of the public are logged into the Zoom meeting who wish to speak under public expression, please use the raise hand feature to allow staff to add you to the meeting. Do we have any requests under telecomment for public expression?
I have not received any telecomments for public expression.
Do we have anyone on the Zoom with their hand raised? And again, for people that are online, this is for items that are not already on the agenda. We will be having public comment on agendized items later. Anything under public comment? We do have your microphone not working.
We do have one person on Zoom with their hand raised.
All right. Steve Weingartner, you're up.
Thank you for listening to me. Can you hear me, first of all?
We can, yes, thank you. You have 3 minutes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Speaking regarding the transient camping proposal.
Mr. Weingarten,
like to
if you could, I'm sorry, we will be addressing that on an agendized item tonight. This is for, today, this is for items that are not on today's agenda.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. No one else on Zoom?
We have another hand raised now.
Okay.
Yes, this is Sojourner Lee. And since I've actually not seen the agenda this time, I am interested in hearing more about the county's plans for compostable toilets. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If I may just briefly
You may.
respond to that. The compostable toilet regulations are actually through the Environmental Health Department. So that could be something that we could talk with if the commission so chooses, possibly agendizing to ask environmental health to come speak about septic infrastructure, including composting toilets at a future date.
Great, I would appreciate that, so.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lee. All right, any other hands on Zoom?
No other hands on Zoom.
Okay. Anyone here in the audience who would like to come and speak on public expression, please come up to the microphone, state your name for the record, and also please direct your speech right into that microphone so people that aren't in the room can hear you.
Gail Richard from Fort Bragg. Okay, there's a lot of confusion over in Fort Bragg about what's going on at these meetings, because they're not spelled out on, you know, if you're hooked into the Planning Commission, like for instance, hip camping, it's numbers. And we'd like to see it so we can know what's going on over there. So if we have something to say about it, we can say something about it. And this whole thing, as far as I'm concerned, has been kind of pushed down and hidden. Nobody knew about it until a couple of weeks ago, and somebody put it out on Nextdoor. So I'd like to see, not numbers, but what it is actually that you're addressing at every meeting. So if I make a public comment, or I send you an email, and I hope you'll read them. There's 40 of them at the Planning Commission over there right now. And we take it real serious. We don't need any problems where we live. There's fire situations, you know, but I'll talk to you about that later. Okay? Please, make it clear so we know what's going on. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want you to be clear and the public to be clear that we do read all those emails, and every correspondence that comes in is considered by this board. So thank you very much. All right, anyone else in the audience would like to speak?
Same shirt as last week.
Same shirt.
All right, some phantom is speaking in the background there. All right, well, if there's nobody else, I'm going to close the public expression item. Moving on to the consent calendar. The only item, I believe, on the consent calendar is the approval of the meeting minutes from August 1st, 2024. Any revisions or corrections to those minutes?
I move to approve.
I second.
All right. Public comment? Any public comments on the minutes from the 1st of August? All right.
Commissioner Wiedemann,
Yes.
Commissioner Purnell,
Yes.
Chair Pollen.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Agenda item number 6A, the regular calendar for today. This is case number OA_2023-0001, review and consideration of a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors on a proposed adoption of amendments to Division 1 of Title 20 of the Mendocino County Code. This item was continued from August 1st, 2024, which is actually continued from a meeting before that as well. I'm going to open the public hearing at this point. Has there been any correspondence or telephone calls received?
All correspondence have been posted to the public website.
All right. We're going to have continued discussion and questions from the commission, but I also just want to let the public know kind of how I think we're going to proceed through this. So we have considered this item at length at the last 2 meetings. We have received a red line version back from staff that addresses the questions and concerns and modifications that the Planning Commission has requested. We'll be going through that today. I know that the transient housing, the low impact camping issue is the issue that seems to be of the most concern. So that it's clear, this body is going to be making, well, I will likely be making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to not adopt those regulations as a part of the zoning code update, but rather to hear those separately as their own item at a date later, either this calendar year or early next. So I do want to honor the people that are here to speak on that. If there are people on the phone that want to speak on that, I'd be curious to hear what people have to say, just because it is going to be part of the public record. So I believe we'll probably take that item early, and then we can move into it. Director Krog, did you have another process point?
I was just going to ask if the commission would like, we could also review the tentative language and the red line resolution that's been provided for this meeting, just to give the public a sense of the recommendation that was at least the direction given to staff and what we have drafted so far before hearing public comment, but it really is the will of the commission on how you'd like to proceed.
Any feelings from the fellow commissioners?
Are you referring to the resolution red line?
Correct.
Okay. Why don't we do that? Maybe that will just provide a little context for people that are here, and then we'll take public comment.
Okay, great. So I am sharing my screen for the benefit of those that are on Zoom as well. And I've moved down to page 3 because prior to that, it's really just relocating a prior recital and correcting the date at the top of the resolution. And I think this is really the meat that talks about the low intensity camping. So if it's all right, I will just read through this, and then the commission can certainly interrupt me at any point. So this would be part of the resolution making the report and recommendation to the Board of Supervisors from the Planning Commission. As part of its consideration of the Inland Zoning Code update, the Commission received significant public comment regarding a proposed change to multiple chapters of the Zoning Code, adding a new commercial use type of transient habitation, low-intensity camping, referred here after low-intensity camping. Low-intensity camping is proposed to be defined as camping for transient guests involving recreational vehicles or tents, which is incidental to the primary residential or agricultural use of the site. Low-intensity camping is proposed to be allowed on parcels in residential, agricultural, commercial, open space, public facilities, rangeland, forestland, and timber production districts, subject to location limitations and operational requirements stated in a new section 20.176.020. Following significant discussion regarding low-intensity camping among the Commission hereby recommends that the Board of Supervisors not adopt any changes to the zoning code providing for low-intensity camping as part of the Inland Zoning Code update. Exhibit A attached hereto does not include any provisions allowing for low-intensity camping as had been drafted by the department. The Commission's reasons for recommending against low-intensity camping provisions at this time are as follows. A, additional time is needed to hear comments from emergency service providers, especially fire districts. B, concern that separate regulations may be necessary for the western portion of the county that, while governed by the Inland Zoning Code, is generally seen as being part of the Mendocino coast, which generally has greater demand for transient habitation. C, there was disagreement over what parcel sizes and zoning districts are an appropriate fit for low-intensity camping, and what kind of property setbacks would minimize disruption of neighbors. Additional time is necessary to develop solutions and hear public comment. D, campsites create numerous impacts that affect adjacent parcels that are not fully addressed by the proposed ordinance provisions. These impacts include noise and light and glare that affect neighbors, and the potential for degradation of private roads by increased traffic related to low-intensity camping. Additional operational requirements to mitigate these impacts and concerns are necessary, but additional time is necessary to develop solutions and hear public comment. E, campsites require adequate water supply, sewage disposal, and solid waste disposal for the health and safety of those camping. Additional operational requirements to speak to these issues were desired, but additional time is necessary to develop solutions and hear public comment. Given the number of outstanding concerns, the Commission recommends that Board of Supervisors adopt the Inland Zoning Code update without provisions relating to low-intensity camping, as shown in the attached Exhibit A. The proposed Section 20.176.020 has been deleted, and references to low-intensity camping have been removed from all districts and use-type chapters. The Commission further recommends that the Board of Supervisors direct the Department to bring forward ordinance changes related to low-intensity camping as part of a new separate zoning code amendment process. And that's the full section that speaks to low-intensity camping, so I'll pause there, so we're staying on that single topic.
Thank you very much. Just so while we are on that topic and before we move on to the other items, just in case the public's not interested in those, I think I would invite public comment at this time on the low-intensity camping, unless there's any questions or comments from Commissioner Wiedemann?
Yes, good morning. I think I read this yesterday, and I actually sent some additions or some just added, not much, red line, I think, to you, Julia, and here you go, to my fellow commissioners. It's just the highlighted yellow, and that I'd like to insert if the Commission's willing to do this. And I'm not sure the...
Hold on a second. Deputy County Counsel.
I just want to note for the benefit of the public, I have shared that on the screen here as well.
Great.
For what the Commission is reviewing.
Thank you.
Great. And I would like to, with the Commission, have a discussion. If I would like to insert these. I think they just add a little more clarification to lead agencies needing to be involved, and defining, like, well, what might be the issues of the impacts that this subject would bring in. So I would like to include those red lines.
And this is, again, just for the clarification for the audience, to the public, this is red lines to the resolution, not to anything that's actually in the ordinance itself.
Right.
Correct.
To her red line.
Yes. Well, I'm willing to. I'd like to have a minute to digest this, and I wonder if we want to hear from the public while we're contemplating these revisions.
I can also just scroll through it here if you like. It's really pretty minor. It's just one
Sure.
page here. So adding at the end of item A, where it says additional time is needed to hear comments from emergency service providers, especially fire districts, adding lead agencies such as DOT, Department of Transportation, and Environmental Health Department. Under B, concern that separate regulations may be necessary for the western portion of the county that, while governed by the Inland Zoning Code, is generally seen as being part of the Mendocino Coast, which generally has greater demand for transient habitation. The additional language would be and impacts to traffic and services, and currently includes several permitted campgrounds. Under C, adding a new sentence that would say additional planning time is necessary to assure public input and participation by providing public meetings in every district, hear public comments, and address the impacts that may occur. Under D, adding public roads as well to the discussion about potential degradation of private roads, and that additional operational requirements to try and mitigate these impacts and concerns by both property owners and residents. Additional time is required to develop solutions, inform, and hear public comment. And then finally, under E, that campsites require adequate water supply, sewage disposal, and solid waste disposal, and oversight for the health and safety of those camping. Additional operational requirements to speak to these issues were requested, and therefore additional time is necessary to develop solutions. And I'll just note from staff, the only, we would, if the rest of the commission wants to incorporate this, we would probably ask for a break before any action is taken. And there is one wording change that staff would recommend to Part A, which rather than saying lead agencies, because that is a very significant term under CEQA, instead saying either resource agencies or stakeholders under there.
Fine.
Thank you. Commissioner Purnell, did you have any comments on Commissioner Wiedemann's suggested revisions?
Only minor comments on it, but I also had a couple of things that I wanted to add to this section of our resolution. And at the will of the chair, we could discuss that now or go to public comment.
Well, let's discuss that now, and then we can go to public comment.
Okay, sounds good. Just a point of clarification, Commissioner Wiedemann, on what you've added under Section B. And impacts to traffic services, and currently includes several permitted campgrounds. The second part of that, I'm not sure what that's referring to.
What?
And currently
yes,
includes.
I see it. It's kind of is like a dangling sentence there.
The dangler.
Yeah, yes. What I meant was that, you know, when we talk about, I think this talks about the coast area more or less, you know, that we have several permitted campgrounds already. We have several permitted campgrounds. And just to make note of that, I know people brought that up, and it deals with the amount of tourism that already affects the coast, right? And because it's such a go-to destination in the county. So that's what I was trying to do. I don't know if there's a better way to make that.
But yeah, there might be better language
Yes.
for that. I don't know what it is right now, but
Okay.
I think we might be able to clear that up, Julia.
And I think staff can certainly work on that if that would be the desire of the commission. If we're incorporating these edits, we'll do a little bit of wordsmithing that will then be reviewed by the commission.
Yeah, and I'm amenable to that. The other, let's see. I had also made notes under Section D. The red line version that we were presented with this morning only identified private roads as having impacts, but I think it would be more accurate and streamlined to mention just purely transportation impacts. And Commissioner Wiedemann,
I did both.
You did say public and, private and public, degradation of private and public roads by increased traffic. So as long as we're looking at transportation impacts in general, I'm fine with that. I don't want to narrow in too much on just one component of that. And then the only other comment that I had on this section of the resolution is up at the top, the zoning districts, that this would eventually be proposed in. I believe we had discussed rural community being a zoning district that it would be allowable in. That's all I have.
Okay,
That's something we can certainly incorporate.
great, thank you. All right, so it sounds like maybe we'll take public comment now. We can move through the rest of the resolution after that, and then we'll give staff some time to make these proposed modifications, and we can come back for review in front of the whole commission. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to open this up for the public at this point. Members of the public that wish to speak on this issue of transient habitation, low-impact camping. People will have 3 minutes to speak. If you're speaking in person, please speak it directly into the microphone, and if you're speaking on Zoom, we'll let you know when your time is up. Do we have anyone on Zoom that would like to speak on this particular item?
Yes, we do have a few hand raised on Zoom.
All right. Jacob Patterson.
Hi, yes, this is Jacob Patterson from Fort Bragg. I just wanted to say I really appreciate the direction of the Planning Commission on this. It's a very complicated issue for the coast, and I think this is a very good example of how planning processes are supposed to work. So I just wanted to thank all of you and staff too. I also support the additional changes that were suggested this morning. This is a very important issue to all those of us on the coast, and I just appreciate you guys taking the public direction and concern seriously and dealing with this in the right way. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Sojourner Lee, you're up.
Okay, yes, this is Sojourner Lee, also from the coast, just north of Fort Bragg. And I echo what the former person said, Jacob. Thank you for that. I think that this is a good start, and what I'm hoping, I don't know how else to say this, but I hope that it doesn't become so much red tape and tangle that these types of camps are not allowed. I think we do have people coming to the coast seeking fresh air, coolness, refugees from heat, refugees from smoke. They're going to come. And the more that we prepare through these smaller camps, not only does it bring in dollars for property owners and the county, but it also gives people a relief from some very difficult situations. It may help us prepare for emergencies and disasters beyond our borders and within our own communities. I think that there's a place for it. I don't think we need to fear that people coming are dangerous people, loud, noisy. My experiences around these types of things have been a very respectful people that are just appreciative of being able to wander on the headlands, the forests, the coast, ride their bikes. So that's all I have to say. I appreciate that more time is being developed so that there's a balance between those that don't want to do this or are not in favor and those that are. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That was it for the people on Zoom with public comment.
All right. Anyone in the room wishing to speak on this particular topic? Please come on up and state your name for the record.
I'm not good at this, but Gail Richard from Fort Bragg. Okay, I'm really against this, and this is one of the reasons why. Okay, when I bought my home 25 years ago, I bought it with peace of mind and serenity of the area outside the city limits. My home is surrounded by large pieces of property, beautiful trees, and wildlife. This spot was selected for my peace of mind as I suffer from PTSD and depression. Something I must have for my mental health is peace and quiet. The neighborhoods are mostly older people who go to bed early, and rise early. We respect the respect for each other, peace and quiet. People who, I'm sorry. We respect the respect for each other's peace and quiet. There isn't even a barking dog. We prefer it that way. What this board is considering will bring nothing but chaos and problems to our neighborhoods. We don't want camping, campers, motorhomes, outhouses, loud music, barking dogs, traffic, and garbage in our neighborhoods. Overloading our already understaffed sheriff and police departments with complaints will not help our city and county. I am sure you are aware of the fire situation in California. Okay? This isn't a controlled campsite. Even if you make rules, they're meant to break by people, okay? I mean, if this happens, you have to have it supervised. I mean supervised. They can't live 15 miles away, the people that are doing this, and worry about it. Okay, so in California, some people can't even get insurance. And the ones that do have it, it's doubled and tripled. One careless camper could be the next Lahaina here. Gone. Everything we've worked for our entire lives. We are surrounded by trees and parched earth. This proposal you may see as revenue. I see it as lawsuit. This board needs to look out for our safety, not put us in harm's way. Put your money into improving, or our money into improving our roads and bridges. You have a responsibility to protect our community, not bring danger and chaos to us. Please, I urge you to reconsider this insane idea. Put yourself in my position. This is not a good idea. It is dangerous and a foolish one. This will cause intentional infliction and emotional distress to people. If this is about revenue, please balance your budget, stop the stealing, because we all have to balance our budget. This is not a good thing. Not good at all. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Okay. We're going to come back to the resolution then, and we'll move through. So, Director Krog, would you like to take us to the next section?
Okay, give me just a moment here. I was starting to make edits, so bear with me.
Okay.
Okay, so. Now we are on to page 4 of the resolution. This is the red line resolution posted on the website as well for the benefit of the public. So this next section is talking about the changes that the commission recommended throughout the 2 previous public hearings that we've held on this item. And so those are summarized in A through, it's a very long list, A through Q. And I won't necessarily go through each one of those unless the commission has any that they wish to discuss in particular. So.
Okay, thank you. Are there any specific sections in the resolution that particular commissioners would like to discuss?
I don't have any suggested changes to what is before us, but I had texted Julia this morning and said that I thought it would more inclusive of our last 2 meetings to add a section to the resolution identifying. I have my text in front of me. I can also pull it up. Identifying some of those items where we the commission would like to have additional input, but either due to CEQA or other issues, we weren't able to take action on those. Examples are short-term rentals,
I have your list if you'd like
Thank
me
you.
to read
Yes,
it.
yes, yes. Cremated remains disposer.
Yeah, the recommendation was to include short-term rentals, review of sign ordinance, parking standards, cremated remains disposer, and then I think open to discussion if there was others as well.
Yeah, because those were some of the like sticking point discussion items where we clearly wanted to do more work on it, but for a variety of reasons can't right now. And I just don't want those very important discussions to get lost, especially in light of, you know, we're actually modernizing a very old zoning ordinance, and there's some things that we can't shoehorn into this right now. And I think the board should know that there's these items that we would like to see come back to us sooner rather than later. Were there any other topics that you recall that fell into that category?
Could you read that addition again list? So
Sorry, 1 second. I would put my phone back down. It was short-term rentals, sign ordinance, parking standards, cremated remains disposer. And I think if the commission is interested in this, staff could, during a break, draft up some tentative language. And really what I would do is walk through the memorandum that was prepared for today's meeting and highlight those items where staff noted that those changes were not included as they required additional analysis and review. And then you can always weed out items out of there if you think that necessarily doesn't need to come back.
No, I think that's good to add because it's true what we've been all working on.
And then just to note that I'm not sure if short-term rentals needs to be part of that, since it wasn't part of what we were considering as part of this action, and there's already direction to work on that. So I will probably focus on the other topic areas as opposed to the short-term rentals, because that's something we are already working on that's going to be under a separate action, wasn't part of the consideration for this item.
Deputy County Counsel, did you have something you wanted to say on that? Okay. All right, Commissioner Purnell, anything else you wanted to provide feedback on?
That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Wiedemann, did you have any feedback on any of these A through Q list?
I did have one thing on 20.204.015. Not sure.
I'm sorry, could you read that number back again?
20.204.015. Now, that has to deal with the CEQA number 2 in CEQA. I don't know if that's here or if I deal with this later. All I wanted to do there was to talk about the type of review. Is it a use permit or a admin permit? And it's on, I have a page.
For the expansion of non-conforming uses, is that what you're
Yeah,
referring to?
I think so. I think yes, that 20.204.015.
Give me
And
just
that
one
might
moment.
be down the road in our
I
discussion.
think if the commission wants to talk about the item specifically in the memo, we could go to that next too. I think right now we're focusing on if there's a
Yes.
change in the
Okay.
resolution.
Great. I only brought that up because it has chapter 20.204, non-conforming uses.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else on the resolution? And again, we'll come back with some proposed revisions here after a break. Okay. Do you want to look at the memo now so that we can look at those CEQA issues that you're raising, Commissioner Wiedemann?
Is that what we should be doing, Julia, right now?
Absolutely. We certainly can.
Okay. Trying to keep everything moving forward. Okay.
And you said you had a page number?
I had a
if you just
page
wanna direct us to-
37 of probably the.
Is that in the addendum?
Yes, I think it is.
Okay, then I'm sharing the
have
wrong
so
documents.
Many, I
So
know,
give
I
me
have
one moment.
so many. I'm hoping
And Commissioner Wiedemann, is this the memo dated August 13th with the new red lines?
Yes, the one.
Oh, okay. Thank
Oh,
you.
this is the addendum to the
Yes.
EIR.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let me just, while everybody's thumbing through it, what I just, in the middle of page 37, And if you get that on the CEQA analysis number 2.
Hold on just a minute. Let's see if we can get that on the screen.
Sorry, give me
Sure.
just one moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have that document.
Just before we
open
jump
yet.
into it, so that people that aren't in the room can be reading what you're reading.
Share my screen, I'm there. For folks that are maybe looking at the PDF online, it's page 39 of the PDF that is posted on the website for this item, which I am sharing on the screen here.
All right, go ahead, Commissioner Wiedemann.
I think for me, where we talk about the elimination of minor use permits by moving all uses previously subject to minor use permit subject to an administrative permit, I think that language can be improved, because I think it's all not administrative permits. I think when I went through my package, I think I found things that were use permits. And maybe it could just be clarification for me.
Sure, I think we could reflect that, because you're correct that there were a couple items, such as the direction that came from the commission to move gasoline sales from an administrative permit to a use permit. So staff could just add use permits into that as well.
Yeah.
Just to make it clear that it is still a discretionary permit process for those activities. Nothing has become principally permitted that was previously subject to a minor use permit. So that's something we can easily make an adjustment for and bring that back.
That's all I was doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see.
And I'm unsure if the commission would like to walk through the memorandum that was prepared by staff, or if you have just want to highlight any particular points that maybe came up as concern, or looking at any of the revised language changes in the memorandum. And I'm happy to do whichever the commission would like.
Are there specific questions or concerns on the memorandum that was provided? That I believe there's a sort of a summary at the beginning of the memorandum of all the changes that were made within the document itself, and then we have the full document that includes the red line and highlighted text changes that have been made over the subsequent past 2 meetings.
I think staff has done a great job tracking these conversations, and I'm very comfortable with everything. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise, and I appreciate staff's reflection on when and why specific recommendations or requests from the commission were not adhered to. And I guess I'm wondering if we want to if they're maybe going over some of those real briefly, just so that it's clear for the public and the commission the why those particular recommendations were not adopted. Is that easy enough for you to synthesize, Julia?
Yes, I think I can do that. So, obviously we've already had the discussion about low intensity camping. That was one of those items, so I'm not going to rehash that, but that was one of those items that we said would be brought back for separate future consideration. Underneath the changes to all zoning districts, so this is on page 2 of the memorandum, and there's several items included in here, so I'll walk through each one of those. So one was about the changes to the I-1 and I-2 zoning districts. This is the limited industrial and general industrial. So 2 of the changes that had been requested was one, removing the allowance for assisted living residential care facilities and also the allowance for daycare facilities. As you can see, staff noted that we were able to agree with the removal of the assisted living residential care facilities, but we do have concerns and did not include the change for the daycare facilities. And that's primarily because the allowance within the current the industrial zoning districts allows for employee housing, which could be a single family dwelling as well. So there could be the potential that you have an individual that is both complying with the employee housing standards in terms of being related to an industrial use type, and maybe another family member in the household that wishes to have these small daycare facilities, which are required to be allowed where you have similar like-type residential uses. So as such, staff believes it would be in conflict if we were to not allow daycare facilities in those industrial zoning districts. But again, it is rather limited because it must be tied to the employee housing, which is tied to an industrial use. And we did add a parenthetical to the I-1 and I-2 zoning districts to reflect that, to make it very clear that it's not a standalone use. It has to be associated with that employee housing. So that was one of those changes. The other was underneath general provisions and exceptions. This is on page 3, chapter 20.152. Staff did not adjust the setbacks for veterinary services, which was the removal of a 100-foot setback requirement for confinement areas, outdoor confinement areas. And primarily, we felt that that was something that required additional review underneath potentially CEQA, and also review for potential impacts on neighboring uses, because the setback is really intended to avoid nuisances that you may experience from animal activities being adjacent to you. So that would be something that could come back at a future date if desired by the Commission. And then additionally, height exceptions. Staff did clarify that wind generators includes windmills, so noting that they are allowed to have that up to 100-foot height exception. But we did remove reference to allowances for additional heights for public utility structures, as really it was unspecified height increases that could be granted, and it's most appropriate to have those types of deviations from zoning standards handled through a variance, which is clearly defined in government code, and would be the appropriate process for that. Then under accessory use regulations, we were unable to include, or we recommended and did not include in the red lines, the addition in limited commercial or the general commercial zoning district for roadside sales of agricultural products, primarily because those districts already allow unlimited retail sales. So really it wouldn't be necessary to include that allowance as well. And then in the rural community district, we did not add that as well because they do already have the allowance for sale of products grown or produced on the premises under animal raising general and also packaging and processing limited. There is the general plan policies and action items that speak to expanded allowance for farm stands within the county, which is something that really should come back under a separate ordinance amendment, because that policy also includes several other provisions of farming related activities that were desired to see expanded within the community. And farm stands, as it's written in the accessory uses, does also allow products to be sold additional review and analysis than what could be and then underneath mobile home parks, staff did recommend against changing the minimum parcel size standard, primarily because both when the general plan was adopted and the general plan EIR certified, it did not contemplate mobile home parks on smaller parcels where there could be increased potential development concerns associated with that. While this could be a change that is studied and brought back at a future date, we did feel that it warranted additional CEQA analysis than what could be completed underneath the current proposal. Similarly, as you see discussed in what I will talk about in the off-street parking section, we feel any changes to parking standards really need to be supported by a parking study. There are general plan policies that support the concept of, rather than building development to the maximum parking standard, to build it to like essentially the average use standard. But again, that really will require a parking study of reviewing all the various use types we have within the county and what is that typical demand for parking. So that change was not included for the mobile home parks, which was just reducing it by one parking space. So that leads me into the off-street parking, which, like I just said, the changes that were suggested by Commissioner Jones, we believe that really warrants a parking study before any changes like that are made, to make sure that there's an established rational basis for making such changes and having that additional review that may be required under CEQA, because while parking itself is not an impact discussed under CEQA, it has potential impacts associated with it, including potential circulation, emergency vehicle access, and or greenhouse gas emissions from idling vehicles if they're looking for a parking space. So those are some of those indirect type of impacts that we would need to be looking at.
Commissioner Weidman, do you have a question on that?
Before you go, on Chapter 21.176, recreational vehicle parks and campgrounds, you have both can be approved with an administrative permit or a use permit. Can you just explain why you have both? I mean, is it because there's different, obviously there's probably, because that's a big category, right? We're talking about recreational vehicle parks and campgrounds. And I just want to know, do we keep both so that we have options? I don't know why.
Sorry,
that was a question.
Perhaps I'm confused here. I don't think that we're referring to previously low-intensity camping, which is not going to be included as part of the recommendation as currently drafted. That had differences between administrative permits and use permits, but otherwise your typical conventional recreational vehicle parks and campgrounds, those use types are set by individual zoning districts, and there's no changes proposed to those.
Okay. So I have fine. I understand. Thank you.
So then if there's no other, and then I'll just note there were a couple additions staff made for the off-street parking standards, which we included our reasonings for doing that as well. And then finally, there is the non-conforming uses and structures. So staff provided that revised language that we had discussed about additional time in restoring damaged structures or destroyed non-conforming structures. And then what we did not include was the striking of the language in section 20.204.040 regarding non-conforming lot area. As when we were really discussing this, we realized it's really more protective for a property owner. And while it doesn't come up all that very often, it is something that, it's not taking away from any, we didn't want to take away any sort of assurances that may be there for a future property owner if they buy a lot that has a non-conforming lot area. And that was all the changes.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Just a quick question,
Sure.
and I understand your rationale for, possibly requiring a parking study in the future changes. Do you have a sense of how involved that would be? Would you consider that a minor study, a major study, or sort of a medium study?
I'm guessing it's somewhere in the medium category. This is where we would likely have to be doing an RFP and seeing just what type of proposals we get back, and then determining a funding source for ourselves to be able to do that. However, it is something that is discussed within the general plan about really looking to reduce some of those parking maximums. So that's something that the department would look to do in revising those. And we did look for available resources that may provide a rational basis to make some of these changes that were suggested by Commissioner Jones and agreed upon by the commission. But we felt that it would be best to have more of a county-specific study because also we are very rural. And so our needs and the number of vehicles that may show up, since we have limited public transportation, is likely more than some areas that may have higher public transportation. So.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments on that? Okay, well, I don't see a need to go through the rest of the memo, the 174 pages in any detail. I think we've done that. Yes, a couple times. Is there anything else that the director would like to point out for the commission's consideration at this time?
Not at this time, just a reminder to call for public comment on the rest.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Is there any additional public comment on anything else that was raised in the memorandum or in the adopt the modified red line version of zoning code? Do we have anyone on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
All right. Anyone here in the room? All right. Yeah. So
We
go ahead.
we have copies in the back of the room, and we can certainly, yes, there's a copy back there, and then we can certainly send you with one on your way out the door as well.
Great. Okay. Well, then I believe staff would probably like a little bit of time to make some modifications to the resolution and
20 minutes, please.
20 minutes. Okay, great. So we will be back here at 10:51.
She has made me feel like I'm important and I can go at my own pace, and that's all you need sometimes when you're feeling like you got nobody.
It was helpful to have somebody there kind of holding my hand and guiding me and letting me know this is kind of the normal. It felt like I was becoming a new mom, so it was very interesting and helpful, very, very helpful.
You know, there was that self-conscious part of me, like, will I be accepted even though I'm not perfect?
What I like the most is that she really listens.
The support that she gives me is special because she does it with love, and it's just natural, you know. That's all I could say. It just feels like somebody that I've known since I was little.
You know, I said to Jeanette, Jeanette, you're supposed to be with me for 5 years. Jeanette said, yeah, I know, I'm going to be with you guys for 5 years. That's when I said, well, I guess I can trust her. She's going to be with us for 5 years.
Yo creo que quizás pasó como a la segunda visita o algo así, como que ya nos presentamos formalmente. Y luego ya creo que en la segunda visita estaba como todo más tranquilo, como muy, como que el ambiente era muy familiar. Entonces yo me sentí muy cómoda.
I felt like she cared for Sparrow too, and Sparrow really enjoyed it. Yeah, she knew when Gabby came we were going to be making something or learning something, and she'd instantly start digging through Gabby's bags to find out what activity we were going to do.
Not only did we get the assistance with this program, but we also made a really good friend. I'm happy to call Gabby our friend.
I think the relationship that we've built has been just, she's a part of the family.
Are you prepared? We're the Office of Emergency Services, and we're committed to providing the most up-to-date and accurate information so that you and your family can stay safe during an emergency. Visit MendoReady.org. It's our one-stop shop for emergency information. You can sign up for emergency alerts, find your pre-established evacuation zone on our current emergencies map, and find hazard and preparedness information.
Imagine you're faced with a disaster such as a wildfire, and you're ordered to evacuate. I'll bet you wish you had more time in that moment. Now's your chance to buy yourself that time. Sign up for Nixle and Mendo Alerts on our website, MendoReady.org. Do it today.
If you want your family to be as resilient as possible, it's important to take some time today and visit MendoReady.org, where you can look up your pre-established evacuation zones on our current emergencies map. You can also find important tools to help maintain your situational awareness, such as the Alert California wildfire cameras and the Caltrans road conditions cameras. We hope you'll take some time today to prepare so that your family can be Mendo ready. Thank you.
When I first realized that I was gonna be a parent, I was super scared. After 2 or 3 weeks of meeting in the home visiting program, I was totally comfortable with the fact that I was gonna have a baby. Yes, I was still scared, but at the same time, I felt like I had some sense of strength behind me.
If I didn't have those resources that Jeanette provided me, I think it would be harder now.
I got into the program and I realized, like, oh, this is nice. And now look at me, I work at a family resource center with parents and families, all this stuff.
I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity to meet my home visitor, because without her, I think that I would be 10 steps behind from where I'm at right now.
Pero pues aquí pues ya los enseñan un poquito más cosas que uno no sabía. Cómo cuidarla, cómo desarrollarla, cómo educarla, y pues es algo bien, porque pues cosas que yo no sabía, pues ya usted nos las dijo y todo como consejos, y pues muchas cosas que se aprendieron.
I don't know what's normal for a 22-month-old baby or an 18-month-old baby, you know. When we get together, we usually discuss and get some progress made with the baby. It makes me feel comfortable, and I associate my parenting with her, my home visitor, telling me, yeah, this is going great.
So it's nice to know where they're at, what stage they're at for every parent, and also to give, again, your children that head start in education.
If I had any questions with her, just call her up on the phone. You know, it was very relatable, very personal. And, you know, with her getting to know my kids, you know, she got to kind of help guide me along the way. I mean, there were so many cool things that I've learned.
I went from a very like rough type of life. I was homeless, and she was able to help me get into school, and I actually have enough credits to graduate with the business degree right now.
I think I really want to mention just that I'm grateful that I took advantage, because it's something that has put me in touch with my child, or closer to my child and her development.
I want other people and parents to know that the home visiting is not something that you should be afraid of. It's actually something that is needed.
You know, because she's not just here for her, she's here to help with all of it. She helped me create a safe space where I feel comfortable enough to ask for help.
Don't be afraid to take that step. Like, don't be afraid to get help. It's always okay to have extra support.
I would say, give it a try. You got nothing to lose. It's free. There's some perks, you know. They got some great resources.
Personally, I think everybody could benefit from the home visiting programs.
I realized that my life was going to change dramatically in ways that I did not know or understand or even comprehend. I was going to have to really go to the well and become accountable and adjust to a lot of things differently.
Que queríamos era que naciera. Ya, sí, ya quiero tener, entonces ahorita lo que tenemos es aprovecharla, quererla y cuidarla lo más que se pueda.
Creo que a todos nos preocupa la primera vez que nos dicen que vamos a ser padres.
When we started the program, my daughter was about 3 months, and my daughter's 22 months now. Something I love about my child, that she's healthy, she's happy, she knows that she's cared for and loved. Those are some of the things that I wanted to make sure that she had, and she has them.
I'm happy today with my daughter. She's the greatest thing in my life, and I'm glad to wake up and see her, and everything I do it for her.
Sí, bueno, yo también vengo de una familia separada. Creo que por eso también me motiva a estar más presente con él, de quizás también estar de la forma quizás que yo no la tuve para Máximo. Y Y también comprender que el padre no solo es el que pone los límites y las reglas, sino que también está ahí para hablar, acompañar, regalonear, jugar, cosas lindas también, no solo ser el guía para el niño, sino que también un compañero de vida.
I was more of a elated and thankful because for 3 months I was in baby land, and when you're in baby world, you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and hoping you know that you're just supportive in the ways that you can be supportive.
Pero pues aquí pues ya los enseñan un poquito más cosas que uno no sabía. Cómo cuidarla, cómo desarrollarla, cómo educarla, y pues es algo bien porque pues cosas que yo no sabía, pues ya usted nos las dijo y todo como consejos, y pues muchas cosas que se aprendieron.
Bueno, creo que por mi parte esperaba algo totalmente diferente, como un programa más frío, por decir algo, no tan cercano a la familia, sino más bien un programa de estado programado para la ayuda solamente. Y a través del programa nos hemos dado cuenta que también pasa a ser una familia con nosotros, porque nos apoya en los momentos difíciles o cuando nos hemos visto en dificultades. Siempre nos hemos podido apoyar en Gaby a través de su programa. Encuentro que ha sido fundamental el apoyo.
You know, my experience has been nothing but positive. Annette has been wonderful. She's on time. She lets me know if there's going to be any changes in the schedule.
Not only did we get the assistance with this program, but we also made a really good friend. I'm happy to call Gabby our friend.
I still feel the challenge of being a parent now in today's world is immense. I think that you need support.
Es un gran apoyo para nuevos padres, y más aún si están en nuestra situación, que somos extranjeros, que nuestra familia y amigos, como dice Carla, están en otro país, lejos. Entonces sí, viene muy bien el programa para apoyarse tanto emocional y como anímicamente, y bueno, en varios aspectos del programa que nos ayuda a seguir adelante con esta nueva aventura.
Don't be afraid to take that step. Like, don't be afraid to get help, because you might think that you know what you're doing, but it's always okay to have extra support, and don't do it alone.
Give it a try. You got nothing to lose. It's free. I'm grateful that I took advantage, because it's something that has put me in touch with my child, or closer to my child and her development.
Are you prepared? We're the Office of Emergency Services, and we're committed to providing the most up-to-date and accurate information so that you and your family can stay safe during an emergency. Part of being prepared is knowing your hazards and taking proper precautions. Visit mendoready.org. On the Know Your Hazards page, you can find hazards for where you work, where you live, and where your kids go to school. On the Plan and Prepare page, you'll find a plan template. It's important to know what you're going to do, what you're going to take with you, how you're going to communicate, where you're going to go, and how to get there.
One great way to prepare is to pack a go bag. Each member of your family should have their own go bag. Visit our website, mendoready.org, to get a list of items that should be in your go bag.
Gathering and organizing important documents before an emergency is an important part of preparedness. So visit mendoready.org today, where you can find a list of important documents that you should have ready near your go bag in case you have to evacuate.
Not every emergency requires people to evacuate. An emergency kit will have supplies for you to remain self-sufficient for 72 hours. Find a list of supplies for disaster kits on our website, mendoready.org.
A prepared community is a resilient community that will recover faster from disasters. So take some time today, visit our website, get yourself prepared so you can be Mendo ready.
Personally, I think everybody could benefit from the home visiting programs.
I think that as a parent now, I'm grateful for support more than I was before.
I filled out that form not knowing what I was doing. I am very, very grateful that I did it because it's really helping me a lot.
Bueno, creo que por mi parte esperaba algo totalmente diferente, como un programa más frío, por decir algo, no tan cercano a la familia. Y a través del programa nos hemos dado cuenta que también pasa a ser una familia con nosotros porque nos apoya en los momentos difíciles o cuando nos hemos visto en dificultades.
Well, I was a new mom and I had no experience taking care of a newborn.
There isn't like a book on how to raise a kid.
We come from a lot of family history of, drugs, violence, alcoholism, so we didn't want our daughter to experience any of that.
The thought that a parent was supposed to be loving, nurturing, supposed to be there for their kid, provide food, shelter, joy, and going in, becoming a parent for her, I had no clue how to provide that.
Cómo pensar educarla, cómo educar a un hijo porque pues nosotros nunca, es la primera vez que íbamos a ser padres.
What I think parents should know about home visiting is that you can learn a lot of new things and tips and tricks, how to take care of the baby and what to do, and if you're, stuck in a routine and everything being monotonous, they give you new resources and new tools how to handle parenthood.
It was nice to have them kind of guiding me. Even though I was not a first-time mom, I felt like a first-time mom.
It totally blew my mind over time. So much information that I had no idea about. She was straightforward when, teaching me this stuff and answered any of my questions. Just a really positive experience.
What I think that parents could benefit with the program is just having someone here for you, especially for first-time parents. It can be very isolating and it can be very lonely, and having the home visitor changes that and it feels very good.
For me, having a home visitor is like having a second mom there.
A lot has changed. I'm definitely more knowledgeable taking care of her, and I know that anytime I need advice or help from somebody, I can just call her.
It's just that little positive nudge to, hey, I'm noticing something, let's find a way how to change it. And she's like, you know what, Amanda, let's pick you up, dust you off, and let's go over to, see about either getting your driver's license or seeing about, going to college, see if we can start something for you.
It's totally worth it. Even if you're on the fence at first, you don't feel like having a stranger coming in your house and teaching you about your little one, do it anyway. You get the help that you need. You get professional advice on things you may not know about your child. And the fact that the program has no fees or anything, it's all totally free, is fantastic.
Yo creo que si conozco a alguien que está próxima a ser mamá, lo primero que haría sería recomendarle el programa porque te entrega mucho apoyo, mucha información y más que nada como apoyo emocional, una guía, te da una visión diferente de cómo es ser papá aquí, quizás en este país.
Y así pues es algo, un bonito programa, porque pues es buena persona la señora y los ha atendido muy bien.
Pensé que nada más iba a ser un programa de
Call back to
orientación.
order this meeting of the Planning Commission of Mendocino County. Director Krog, would you like to show us the modified language to the resolution?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, let me get a little closer to my microphone here so everyone can hear me. So the first change made is here, changes shown in blue here. So adding rural community to the list underneath the zoning districts that were referenced as to where low intensity camping was proposed in the regulations. And then now we're going to get into the language that was recommended from Commissioner Wiedemann with some of the tweaks suggested by Commissioner Purnell. So this would revise finding A to add at the end of the sentence and resource agencies such as Department of Transportation and Environmental Health Department. And then under B, adding at the end of the sentence and impacts to traffic and services in the Mendocino Coast area that already includes several permitted campgrounds. And then C, adding that to the last sentence, that additional planning time is necessary to assure public input and participation by providing public meetings in every district, hear public comments, and address the impacts that may occur. And then under D, adding that the language from Commissioner Whedon about private and public roads, and then also adding at the end of that, or other transportation impacts to ensure that we're capturing anything that may be beyond that per Commissioner Purnell's suggestion. And then finally adding in the last sentence there that additional operational requirements to mitigate these impacts and concerns by both property owners and residents are necessary. And I see I just need to add a space here. And that additional time is required to develop solutions, inform, and hear public comment. And Commissioner Wiedemann did have right here where we say additional operational requirements to mitigate had included try as part of that. And we suggest actually not including that because we actually want to mitigate it. We don't want to try, we want to mitigate it. So, and then finally in E, adding that the campsites required adequate water supply, sewage disposal, and solid waste disposal, and oversight for the health and safety of those camping. And then the last sentence, additional operational requirements to speak to these issues were requested, and therefore additional time is necessary to develop solutions and hear public comment. Any comments on that portion before I move on to the other request? No? Okay, great. So then scrolling down, I apologize to everyone for the quick scrolling. So we added a new section 4 here to address Commissioner Purnell's request and the Commission's request regarding future separate ordinance amendments. So this would be a new item 4 that would state that the Board of Supervisors direct the department to bring back future separate ordinance amendments to address the following topic areas. A, updated sign regulations. B, revised off-street parking standards in accordance with General Plan Policy DE-83 to meet normal, not maximum, single-day expected vehicle demand. C, expanded allowances for farm stands. And D, regulations for cremated remains disposer. Want me to? And if they would like, I can add if the Commission would like, I can add reference to the General Plan Policy regarding farm stands as well.
Yeah.
Just a minute.
I mean, maybe it doesn't appear here in this ordinance or this resolution, but there was also discussion and desire for some presentation from environmental health on.
I think that'll be a separate item, which we would capture as bringing back for a discussion with the Commission, because it was under public expression. Yes. Yeah. And just one moment here while I'm finding the farm stand language, and I apologize about that. Yeah, here we go. So add that. Okay, so that was just adding to farm stands, expand allowances for farm stands in accordance with General Plan Policy DE-264 and Action Item DE-264.1, and then regulations for cremated remains disposer. So those are all the change. Oh, sorry, one more change. Just changing Jim's name to James in the the resolution. And then I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and I'm going to share next the Exhibit B to the resolution, which is the addendum, and this is the change that we discussed that Commissioner Wiedemann had identified, which is shown here with highlighting. That is just adding the word use permit as well, where we talk about minor use permits, that those uses are now subject to an administrative permit or use permit. And thank you for that catch. And that is all of the changes.
All right. Any further questions or comments? Okay. Do we need to hear more public comment at this point? All right. Any more public comment on anything else? Anyone on Zoom?
No members of the public on Zoom.
All right. And I'm seeing no one in the audience either. All right. Well, then I would, if there's any other further discussion or comments? All right. I would entertain a motion. Oh, yeah, let's close the public comment. Thank you.
And do we have a suggested motion today?
Yes, we do. There is a staff memorandum. Give me just one moment.
Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski will put up the recommended action from the first memo on the screen. The only change would be to adopt the resolution as amended at today's meeting.
Thank you. Sorry, my apologies. There's a lot of memorandums that we have.
And Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, I'll revise my statement. I mean, the motion could be adopt the recommended motion for with changes made to the resolution and attachments made at today's hearing. That covers changes made to both the addendum and the Exhibit A, which is the ordinance.
All right. You want to take this?
I hope I get it right. I move to adopt the recommended motion, subject to the amendments made to the resolution and the attachments at today's meeting.
We have a second.
I second.
All right. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Purnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiedemann,
Yes.
Chair Pollan.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on. Agenda item number 7, matters from staff. Do we have any additional items from staff today?
No matters from staff.
All right. Agenda item number 8, matters from the commission. Any matters from any of the commissioners?
I just wanted to thank staff for your excellent work on this and the commissioners as well. This is a lot of detail, but so important to modernize our zoning ordinance for the county. And I know our work is not done, but this was a good step forward. So thank you to everyone who worked on this.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to echo those thanks, and also to the public who participated. We got a lot of really great feedback from the public on this one, so appreciate all of the expertise that exists in our community. Any other items, Commissioner Wiedemann?
No items at this time.
All right. Well, then I will invite a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you on the 5th.
Hi.